Okay, I'm just setting up on Facebook. Oh, I've changed something. Go live. Huh. Every so often they change the buttons just to throw me off, I'm sure. Okay. Do I look like a man? Just looking at myself. I don't know why I look like a man. Okay. Let me see here. Okay, there we go. Okay, just waiting for everyone to turn up. There we go. Hello. This is one of my regularly scheduled lives. Okay. Just waiting for people to turn up. While we're waiting, I'd love to know where you're from. Hello, Kathy on YouTube. Where are you from, Kathy? I'm here in Vancouver, Canada, by the way. So where are you from? You might be somewhere on holidays too right now. Vancouver, Washington. Oh, right. Okay. Vancouver, Washington. Two Vancouvers. There's two Vancouvers. There's one in Washington in the United States and one in British Columbia in Canada. North Carolina. Welcome, Catherine. Okay. Alaska. I know nothing about Alaska. Like, I don't know. Do you have those long summers, like long nights? I don't know. Winnipeg, living in Quebec. My mother was from Winnipeg and she hated it because she grew up during the Depression and they didn't have heat. So you can imagine, I think they had a little wood burning stove in the kitchen and they all crowded around that. So you can understand why she hated Winnipeg, right? She got out of there as soon as she could. But yeah, imagine growing up there with no heat. Dutchess County, New York, New Brunswick, Canada. We do with the moose. Wisconsin. I mean, I've watched The Odd Thing, but I don't know a lot about Alaska. Okay, Zurich, Switzerland. I was there in 1980. Alberta, Canada. Victoria, Australia. So that's the state. My kids were born, my son was born in Sydney. My daughter was born in Brisbane. That's where I raised my kids. Minnesota, Somerset, Kentucky, South Florida. Excellent. Okay, I think we've got enough people here. Sydney. Yeah, we started out in Marsfield, which is near North Ryde in Sydney. Yeah. Okay, Brooks, Georgia. Okay, I love to hear where people are from. It's interesting. Okay, so let's get going with the live. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, Syracuse, New York. I just like saying Syracuse. It sounds so neat. Anyway, if you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses. I have two of them now, one for toddlers, one for 3 and up, or 3 to 12, not for teenagers. Or you can look into coaching. So let's get going with the live. I'll answer as many questions as I can. Winter Funk had one here. This is the one from Winnipeg on YouTube. I have a 4-month-old and I'm wondering if there's anything I can start doing right now to become a leader parent. Nah, just go with it. Just play with them a lot. With babies to me are like between 0, obviously, and between 0 and 15 months. That's sort of a baby. And I always say with kids, you meet their needs and you manage their wants. With babies, you kind of meet their needs and meet their wants too. But yeah, there's not much you can do now. Just enjoy each stage. It goes so fast, especially that first year. Chesapeake, Ohio. Welcome. Okay, my kid is about to be 4 and she won't sleep. Okay, she won't sleep. She has no screen time 2 hours before bedtime, no sugar, and her bedtime is 7:30. She is the same room as her sister, and she will talk, bang on the walls, walk around and play until 11. How do I get her to sleep? Check out my bedtime battles course, but you're going to want to have the other child sleep in your room on a mattress or somewhere else while you're doing this, because it's going to be a wild night. So yeah, I have a specific course called Bedtime Battles. That's in the link above. And it's a whole process. It's in 2 parts, how to get them in bed, then how to keep them there. That's the hard part, how to keep them there. But yeah, it's usually a night of hell. Sorry about that. It's a night of hell. But it's often just one night. So Dover, New Hampshire. Sorry, New Hampshire. It's New Hampshire, isn't it? 2-year-old refuses to sit on the potty. I got a course on that, potty training. There's not one tip I could give you. It's a whole method on how you train them. But yeah, and I suggest 2.5 is a good age to train them. There's lots of exceptions to that. From Mean. Hi, Mean. I've been using your tantrum method for months. Almost 3-year-old is just changing her tantrum styles. Instead of crying, she's screaming at me in anger. What do I do? Okay. The thing is that, each of these methods that I teach, they kind of go best when they're all together. There's other stuff going on. I don't know what you're doing outside of the tantrums, but yeah, they're just working you. They know you're not a leader, so work on your leadership skills. You might want to check out my boot camp course for 3 to 12 years old if she's almost 3. So yeah, it's all about leadership. Yeah, you might be doing something that's just a little bit not quite right. You know what I mean? Like in there, she's working you. Yeah, they do that. Okay, just turned 3-year-old boy with an 11-month-old sister who is walking. How to handle hitting, throwing things. I don't know, the 3-year-old or the 11-month-old? I'm not sure which one. And you have to put the whole question together and then put the ages with it, because I won't remember if you just put an age, I won't remember who that's from, because I don't see the names usually. I'm just looking at the questions. Okay. At what age can you teach a child patience? And is that if you nag me one more time, you won't get it at all an appropriate approach? No, no, not at all. Patience. Delayed gratification, you mean? Waiting for something? That's about 3. That's when they can stop and think before they act. It can be a lot younger, but at 3 they can really get it. So yeah, there's so many different ways I can go about that one. Yeah, and when you say if you nag me one more time, you won't get it at all, that's a threat. I don't threaten. So yeah. Now, 15-year-old, good. Teenagers are my favorite age. My 15-year-old doesn't want to practice driving. The only thing that works is to give him an ultimatum between driving and taking away video games for the night. Should I do something? Why are you in such a rush to have him drive? I'm curious. Do you live out somewhere where you'd rather him be able to drive himself places like sports or something? I'm just wondering why you're so anxious for him to drive. Most parents are horrified at their teenagers driving. Like it's scary, right? So I'm just wondering why. If he doesn't want to do it, I wouldn't force him to do it, because if he's a nervous driver, you'd rather wait till he's more comfortable doing it. Dalton, is it Dalton or probably Dalton, Georgia? Okay. Any tips to stop thumb sucking? No, not really. The bitters and all those other things that you can do. I have never heard of any of that work. They tend to just grow out of it. And there's a lot of social pressure once they go to kindy or preschool or grade 1 or whatever. There's social pressure to stop doing it. And then oftentimes they'll just do it at night or at home. And, I really don't have any good methods. I knew someone or heard of someone years and years ago who thumb sucked, I think in his sleep, even when he was like a teenager, like he just had real habit. He had no thumbprints left, like literally grew up with no thumbprints. Imagine that, right? So yeah, sorry, I don't have any great advice for that. And I don't think anyone really does. Like it's one of those, it's just tricky, because what do you do? How can you get their thumbs away from them? I've never heard it. Like I've asked people who've researched this in great detail, and they said, yeah, there's really nothing great. Okay, sorry, I do scroll through just to make sure you're still here when I answer your questions. Boy hitting and throwing, just turned 3, has a sister who is walking now. How to handle? Oh, that one. Okay, good. That was the older. Okay. Well, I don't quite know, but here's what threw me off. He hits, but he has a sister who's walking. What does that have to do with hitting? So is he knocking her down? Anyway, here's what I would do. I would check out put on the behavior board, no hitting, okay? Or no throwing things or whatever. So no physical aggression. You can put something like that and explain what that means. That's on the free behavior board. That's up above. And then there's a consequence when he does do that, when he breaks the rule. Because without a consequence, how are you ever going to learn? We all learn through consequences. That's why we pay our taxes. That's why we don't walk out of the grocery store before paying. There's a consequence if we do the wrong thing. So you got to teach your children this. a lot of parents just go with that. Well, he should understand. Yeah, I understand that I shouldn't speed down the freeway, but really what holds me back is the fact that I might get a ticket. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's consequences that keep us going. Why should kids be different? It's funny when I'm coaching. Sometimes I'll come out with something and a parent will go, "Oh my God, that's brilliant. I get it now. I get it." And then I'll say the exact same thing to the next client and they're like this, like it means nothing to them. So I never know what's going to click with people. It just strikes me as funny. But yeah, so I was just going to say something and I thought, no, I don't think it's that clever because no one else thought it was that great. But anyway. I love your videos. I'm expecting my first and appreciate all the information. Yeah, good for you. Keep watching. And you know the most important thing about watching these lives is, and the videos, is looking at all the comments and other people. You're not the only one who's going to be going through all this stuff. This is all common stuff. The thing is that people don't tend to talk about all this stuff. They're sort of almost embarrassed when their kids act out. Yeah, I raised my kids in Australia. No one there cared. We'd all laugh at our kids doing dumb things and us doing dumb things. It was more self-deprecating over there. I didn't feel the social pressure to be perfect parents. Like I find North America, there's a lot more social pressure like that. And I think it sort of sets it up for failure and for feeling bad about yourself, right? So. Okay, is daycare good for toddlers, 18 months, socialization, or is it better to keep them home? There's no easy answer to that. Do you want them home? Wherever they're happiest. If you're at home, well, here's the thing is I was a stay-at-home mom. My kids didn't go to daycare, but they did go in the gym daycare when I was doing aerobics, okay? So when I was working out, they did do that. But I was out a lot with my kids anyway, so they got lots of socializing. I went to baby groups. I had them in all sorts of swimming lessons and all sorts of stuff. And they don't tend to socialize at that age anyway. It's good to get them used to being around other kids and not to grab and have other kids grab off. They just sort of start to learn stuff. They don't tend to socialize until they're about 3. Like they can play side by side, but they don't tend to interact the way we think about it until they're about 3. So yeah, I think it's great. I think it's very important that they get out around other kids, whether or not it's in daycare or with you. It doesn't really matter, I don't think. Do whatever suits you, whatever makes you happy too. Do you want them in daycare? Do you want them, then maybe that's the place to go. I don't have a great opinion on that, daycare, because there is no black and white answer to that. How to best help my 16 and 14-year-old daughters deal with separation and divorce. Okay, I went through that with my kids. They were 14 and 19. And didn't seem to have a big effect on them because we always got along. They don't care if you're together. They just care that you get along. It's your fighting that upsets them. It's the animosity. It's the behind the back kind of stuff. That's what upsets them. So we weren't perfect by any means, but we're pretty good at it. We never fought in front of them or anything. So, yeah, we still went to everything together. So if they had graduations, we still went to all that stuff together. So yeah, be a united front. You're still parents. You chose to have kids with kids with that person. So that's your responsibility to get along with them, even if they don't. You take the high road if they don't. But yeah, just don't fight in front of them. Try and keep it all nice. Try and keep it like you get along. Okay. My ex and I, that was 20 plus years ago now. And we're not friends, but we have no problem getting along. We have kids together now, a grandchild together. So yeah, you're stuck with that person for the rest of your life. And chances are they're not evil anyway. I know everyone seems to think that when they first split up, but yeah, they're probably highly functioning, decent people anyway. You know what I mean? Like we'll sort of villainize the ex, but really, I mean, just get along with them. That's all they care about. Get along. Put your kids first. I always say, love your kids more than you hate each other. And if you do hate each other, don't show it. I have a 19-month-old granddaughter, Australia, Perth. Okay, I never got over to the West over there. And love applying your advice. Excellent. Thanks so much for your support. I appreciate that. Vivian Vandermeer. Never mind. I'm probably saying it right. I just thought I could give that one a go, but I thought, no, I'm not doing that right, am I? Okay. First time mom and my son will laugh if I try to discipline him. He's 19 months old. Yeah, they just don't get it yet. Okay, just keep following through. They're testing you. They're like, hey, can I pull you into this laughter at you? And just don't go along with it. Yeah, most of them do that. I have a toddler course now if you're interested. Actually, I didn't put that in there, or did I? I don't know. I don't know if I put that in there or not. It's a pretty big course, but it's more, I've got 2 boot camp courses now, the toddler one and the big one for 3 to 12 years old. But the 3 to 12-year-old, that's 5 weeks to get respect. With toddlers, they're just kind of crazy. It's more of a reference guide. What if they're doing this? What if they're doing that? What do I do? You're sort of building a bit of a base, but yeah, they're all over the place when they're toddlers, and they're also different because some of them are going to do things and others aren't. Some of them might go like that and smear poop on the wall. Others wouldn't dream of doing that. So yeah, it's but you might want to check that out if you're interested. We love you. My 8-year-old boy is truly amazing, but the sassy attitude sometimes. He has moments where he has little hissy fits and won't listen to what I'm saying or needs an explanation, or what I get that it's not fair. What are some ways? Okay, I get that. He's working you. Because you answer that. If he says that's not fair, and you know you've done the right thing, I would just go, oh well, life's not fair, kiddo. Like I don't get into that stuff. So yeah, you might want to check out my boot camp course, the 3 to 12 years old, because when you're a leader, the attitude melts away. They just don't have a bad attitude or a sassy attitude with a leader. It just doesn't happen. Have you ever had a coach or a teacher that you look up to, like a mentor? They make you feel great about yourself. Oh, that's what I teach. I teach leadership parenting. That's a leader. You want to please a leader, don't you? Even as adults, if someone makes us feel great, don't you kind of want to, what can I do for you? Follow them around like a puppy dog. Like it's just a natural reaction. So that's what I teach. I teach leadership parenting. So your kids want to be around you. They want to please you. And then when they're teenagers, you want them to sort of morph into their own leaders, but you're there for the big stuff. You want to be the backup, but you want them to be their own leaders, and they won't want to disappoint you. Okay. And they tell you everything when you get good at this leadership. So the attitude, you can't address attitude. It goes away when you're a leader. It's a tell. It means that you're not a leader. That's all that is. So yeah. And the attitude is the very last thing to go. You never address it. There's no point. You want your attitude. Yeah, okay, whatever. So yeah, it's the very last thing to disappear. And it happens organically. Once you're a leader and they trust that you're going to stay this way, might take a few months, especially with a teenager. Might take a few months, but you just got to be consistent, and then eventually the attitude goes away. But that one wasn't a teenager, but with teenagers, it's going to take a while. Okay, my 15-year-old does what I ask, but says terrible things like, you suck and control my life. Can I ever address the rude comments? I would say, why is that? I would absolutely say, why is that? No, tell me. Well, say, I don't really want to suck and control your life. So help me to help you. Guide me along this. Okay, I'm going to read out my top 4 tips for parenting teenagers. Yeah, we kind of use humor with that. I want to know, what can I do? What am I doing wrong here? Help me out. Help me help you. Right? I would go with that for sure. Okay, here's my top 4 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1, I'm going to tell you a story first. My son said to me, he was, I think, 15. And he said to me, you've been a really difficult mom. And I was shocked. I thought we were like super close and everything. And I said, why? And he says, because I've got nothing to rebel against. You're too reasonable and easy to talk to. Whew, didn't know that was a crime. I didn't say that. But I said, oh, okay, fine. Go clean your room. And he never did. Rebellion taken care of. He obviously had the need to rebel. I think he had wilder friends that were rebelling. And he thought that'd be kind of fun, but he didn't have anything to rebel against. So isn't that interesting, eh? Anyway, so I was shocked at that. So I did apologize to him in person. Then I went in the other room and kicked my heels together with glee. Okay, now this is my top 4 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1 is you listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. By the way, they already know it. Number 2 is negotiate pretty much everything. That's sort of what I was talking about, saying help me to help you, right? Negotiate pretty much everything. It goes something like this. Say, hey, I want you to put your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? Give and take, building reciprocity, mutual respect, right? Okay. Number 3 is don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? And laugh it off. It's okay to be imperfect. Okay. It's okay to make mistakes. And then, or I would even say, you want to hear something stupid I did this morning? Like, big deal, right? And number 4 is don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. In other words, if you're having a great day with your teenager, but you've got all this resentment and you want to talk about all the past stuff that he's done to you, do not leverage that good time to discuss that. By the way, never discuss that. There's no point. The payback is when he's all grown, he has a teenager of his own, and you can just sit back and watch the show. That's the payback. It's a slow burn. You got to wait a while. So yeah, those are my top 4 tips for parenting teenagers. I don't have a course on teenagers yet. I've decided I will. I wasn't going to do one on toddlers, and I did. Because I thought, how can I do a course on toddlers? I got the mini ones. That's different. But I've got the big boot camp course, and all the mini ones are thrown in as a bonus, by the way. But anyway, I've got the big boot camp course for toddlers now. But I thought, how can I do a course on toddlers? All I could put in there is toddlers are crazy, the end. So, but then I decided to make it a reference guide. So it's quite different. But anyways, with teenagers, because I specialize in teen crisis work, I thought I can't put that in a course, right? It's so personal. And then I thought most parents of teenagers are not going through crisis. So I can make it a non-crisis teenage course. Do you know what I mean? All the little hints and tips and everything I've learned throughout the years. So I will do that one day. That's not in our immediate, we've got other stuff planned for immediate stuff, but no, one day, maybe next year. No fighting, just talking down to me from their father and discontent, unhappy, unhealthy relationship. Yeah, you got to let that go. Yeah, you got to work on your, well, I just said the top 4 tips for parenting teenagers. Think, look at that. You can rewind this on YouTube. You can't rewind it, but on YouTube, I keep all of my lives. And that was at about 21 minutes in. Anyway, yeah, you might want to look into coaching too if you're really struggling. It is a transition time. You don't have them for that much longer. They're like, what did you say, 14 and 16? Yeah, you might want to look into coaching with me. Just check it out if you're interested. To hopefully strengthen your bond and your connection with them, so that stuff won't have as much power. My 3-year-old son can throw down a fit that will not end. He will repeat whatever it is he's upset about for a very long time. How can I help him through this? Ooh, that is the key there. You don't. You don't. You can't help anyone else self-regulate, ever. What you do is he's watching you, so it's how you act during the tantrum. That's everything. You do not interrupt that tantrum. You just stand there when they're having a tantrum. You're filing your nails like you're waiting for it to end, okay? Look like you're waiting for a bus. As soon as it's over, say, oh, do you want to go to the park? Don't discuss tantrums before, during, or after. But yeah, you just ignore that stuff. If he gets physical with you, just physically restrain him from hurting you or himself or damaging property. But you don't talk to him. Just ignore it. You got to let them learn how to get out of a tantrum. And they're watching you. Believe they don't have tantrums when they're all by themselves. They only do it to get attention. So any attention, even when you're trying to calm them down, which is the only way you can stop a tantrum by giving them exactly what they want. But of course, you're not going to do that, right? Your children are more important than your divorce. Yeah, it's easy enough to preach to people with that, but emotions get in the way. It's a powerful thing going through a divorce. So yeah, I know I always kind of feel bad when I say put your kids first and all that, because I know it's difficult, but I know from experience with my kids that they have said that it was the fact that we never fought and we could still go everywhere together with them. They said they were very grateful for that. So how many times do I repeat a consequence before doing 24-hour media blackout? We just started the behavior board with 1 rule per child on Sunday. Okay, what I'm assuming you mean is there's 2 consequences. Like the behavior board is very general, right? The course goes into this in more detail, but I'm going to tell you right now what to do anyway, so you don't need that. So the behavior board has a rule and a consequence for everybody. And for the kids, they have 2 consequences. So if they break the rule, there's a positive action consequence, and then there's a negative deprivation if they won't do the first one. So let's say the first one is do a chore within 15 minutes of being asked to do so. If they refuse to do that, say, okay, 24-hour media blackout starts now. So then you just take something away. I think what you're asking, Laura, is what do I do? How many times in a day do you do that? 20? No. About the 3rd time I would do this, I would say, hey, you broke the rule for the 3rd time today. I'll tell you what we're going to do. And I talk like this. So I always say, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go straight to 24-hour media blackout. And that starts now. Do you understand? That's what I say to the kid. Anyway, and then during the media blackout, they're going to keep breaking that rule because they feel like they've got a free pass to do so. That's fine. At the very most, I might say, that's why you've got media blackout. That's going to be one hell of a 24 hours, but they're learning, okay? You got to be willing to go through the storm to get to the rainbow. The bigger the storm, the bigger the lesson. The storms are the lessons. The fits, scenes, meltdowns, and tantrums are your opportunity to exercise your leadership by not giving in to them. So anyway, does that answer your question? I feel like I answered that one really well. I didn't go on too much. I tend to go off on my tangents. Okay, so I got to scroll ahead at, oh, sugar, what time is it? Oh, good. Okay. I'm not late because I like to bounce around. I go from, I'm on YouTube the whole time. That's where all of my lives are saved. And then I go from Facebook for 30 minutes, Instagram 30 minutes, and then TikTok for as long as I can hold up. Sometimes I do cut TikTok short sometimes if my voice is starting to give up. Because remember, I'm coaching a lot during the day and then I do the live at night. So my voice doesn't always hold up. Okay, I love your videos. Thank you so much, Paige. Paige Gilmore. That sounds like something from a TV show, that name. I do have a question. I have a 2-year-old son and a baby on the way. Any tips for happy transition for our 2-year-old with a new baby? Absolutely none. You cannot prepare a 2-year-old for what's coming. There's no way they can really understand what's going to happen in their life. You can't prepare them for it. You just have to go with it. My best advice is just supervise that newborn 24/7. I had a friend who had a very gentle little boy, and like mine was very gentle too. So we used to get together like play dates. And I was shocked one day. I came over there and her little boy was tired of this newborn baby sister. He didn't understand concussions and all that. He was only 2. He picked her up out of the bassinet and threw her on the floor. And you would not expect that from him. He wasn't that type. He just didn't understand. To him, it was like a very loud, stinky doll that was taking mom and dad away from him. So yeah, you can't. They'll just get used to it. But you protect, you supervise that newborn. Do not expect a new 2-year-old to understand concussions, death, bleeding. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's just a rough transition. Although some toddlers never even notice the baby. They could care less. But we don't hear from those parents on here because they're not asking that question, are they? But yeah, it's very common for them to show some aggression. Here's the funny thing is in the hospital, they're like this, holding the new baby. I love you, and you're taking videos. Isn't he precious? Then you get home and he's hitting it like a, in the hospital, they don't understand that thing's coming home and they have no idea what's coming. So yeah. Okay, I'm going to be moving over to Instagram now. If you want to follow me over there, it's BratBusters. If not, check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses. I've got 2 of them now, toddlers and 3 to 12-year-olds, or you can look into coaching. Anyway, I'm hopping over to Instagram and I'm on YouTube the whole time. Happy parenting. God, they keep adding more and more buttons to push. There's an extra one there. Okay. My thumb gets sore. I'm on my phone so much. Okay. I've got your potty course. Should I wake my 2-year-old up to go potty during the night? Good question. You can do that. I would suggest do it at around 11 because if they're going to go potty, it's sooner rather than later. Like don't do it at 3 in the morning. So maybe a couple hours, 2 to 4 hours after they go to bed, I would suggest you do it then. Also, don't give them anything to drink 90 minutes before they go to bed. So yeah. But yeah, get them up. Do a sleepy pee. Like you put their hand in warm water. I did it with a kid once. It wasn't my own kid. And I had no memory of doing it. Evidently, I did. I got this kid up in the middle of the night. It was a sleepy pee for both of us. It was funny. Oh, I see you did that. No, I didn't do that. Yeah, you did. Do you have thoughts on any other parent experts? Oh, no, I've never looked at one, ever. I stay in my own lane. And there would be no benefit to me because I'm kid taught. There would be no benefit for me to read a book or look at anyone else. If I want to know, well, I don't do it anymore because I've been doing this forever. But if I ever want to know anything about kids, I would go to a hospital, a detention center, a school, a home, and I would start working with kids. That was my information source. So yeah, I don't know anybody else out there. Okay. Family member recommended flicking cheek with 13. No, I don't do that. No, I don't do that. Just kind of ignore that stuff. You got to be fast. Like if you're going to take the food away for a minute or a few seconds, as soon as they screech, say no, and then look away and hold the food away from them. It's going to take time. They're going to keep doing it, but they will eventually stop. They don't learn the first 20 times. They might take 50 times of doing that. Do your methods work with 5-year-olds in the autistic, so ASD, autism spectrum disorder? Yes and no. It depends where they are on the spectrum, and they're all different. But I always say children with any challenges, that would be one-on-one coaching with me. Okay, but lots of my clients have said that they've used that the course, the boot camp course, and it's worked. But it's hit and miss because it might not work. It might, but you can say that with anything. You know, like it might not work with every single kid anyway. The most important thing with any of this stuff is you. It's not about the kids, it's about you. I've worked with tons of kids with autism, and I did find they all seem to have different things that they relate to. It depends on where they're at, but yeah, it's usually a specialty. Okay, this is from Grace. It's a complex question, believe it or not, because it looks simple, but it's not. Grace asks, should I do something about the fact that I don't yell at my kids, but my husband believes it's fine after a point? Then Grace says, is it sending mixed messages to the kids? No, because so long as you're one way and he's another, it's okay. Make sure you're consistent though. And yelling it works in the short term, but it backfires big time down the road. I suggest you get the behavior board and put no yelling for dad on there. That's his rule, no yelling. And when he does, he has to do something nice for the kids. They love that stuff. So I had two clients today, and they both said, oh, the kids just love this behavior board. They're racing over there all the time because they get to punish their parents. So, and then if they get to punish you, they see you're accountable, they're more likely to be accountable themselves. But yeah, it's not sending a mixed message because two different parents are doing it. If the kid does the exact same thing and you yell one day and the next day you don't, that's a mixed message because it's the same person, right? They just understand that everyone's different and deals with things differently. But yeah, yelling's never good. Most of my clients yell, but they yell because they don't know what else to do. It does work in the short term, but it backfires down the road big time. Okay, so I'm scrolling ahead to make sure you're still here. Oh, it's a smaller group tonight. I've only got 106 in here. Usually it's quite a bit bigger. So that's good. I should be able to get to more of your questions. My 3-year-old won't listen to any direction, always responds with, you get time out to me and we'll hit. Yeah, that's classic example of you're not a leader. Remember, we're never fixing kids here. We're fixing and teaching parents. So you lead, they will follow. That's a clear sign that you're not a leader who doesn't respect you at all. So work on that. You got to earn that respect. You got to work for it. Okay. It's hard work, but it's worth it. Believe me, it's worth it. So you might want to check out my boot camp course. Everything's in the link above. Check out the boot camp course for 3 and up to 12-year-olds. What do you do with kids with real anger problems, 4 years old? Again, that's usually parenting. Children who have leaders, their emotions are pretty steady. They're more calm because they feel taken care of, they feel respected, they feel heard, and they're happier. So yeah, I would look and you sort out your parenting. If he's still got anger, if you know you're a leader and he's still got anger issues, then I might look at the kid. Then you might want to hire me. But work on, are you a leader? Do you know what I'm saying? Look, check out your leadership skills first. Remember, it's always us. We lead, they follow. That's why I teach parenting. I don't teach kidding, or we're never fixing kids. They're just a reflection of your parenting. Between the ages of 3 and 12 years old, all of their behavior is a direct reflection of your parenting. It just is. Between the ages of 3 and 12, not under 3 and not over 12, not everything. It's less likely under 3. Teenagers, yeah, they're still going to respect you. They're still not going to get too far out of line. But toddlers are just crazy anyway. Toddlers are more of a slow burn. You are investing in tomorrow with toddlers. I do have a boot camp course for toddlers too, but it's more investing, dealing with things as they come up. And then eventually they'll start to learn, wait a minute, when you say something, it's going to happen. So they will stop fighting you. But the thing is, it doesn't happen overnight. It's more of a slow burn with toddlers because they learn through repetition. Uh, mm, Here again, it's the same answer. If you were a leader, they would just do it. 3-year-old boy, how can I motivate him to pick up their toys at the friend's house without a fight or turning it into a game, especially when we're about to leave and there's no fun activity afterwards? Oh, you don't bribe them for that. Yeah, not at all. You don't bribe a child to do the right thing. It's not really incentive in that situation because he's fighting and turning it into a game. It's kind of complicated here. I mean, in my mind, it's making sense, but I'm not saying this very well because I want to go further into this, but I can't. It's just alive, right? So, but yeah, work on your leadership skills. He will pick up the toys before you leave. It's just the way it is. Work on your leadership. It's just a sign he doesn't respect you. That's all. It's a tell. 2-year-old keeps hitting me. How do I stop this? I have a whole method on that. Check out my mini course above in the link. It's toddlers who hit, bite, etc. It's not a very well-named course. I kept trying to come up with a fancier name, and that one just says it like it is. Okay, I'm going to scroll ahead just to make sure you're still here while I answer. Okay, 24-month-old consistently throws things, not just when frustrated. Bowl of cereal, toys, throws things at 1-year-old. Okay, well, let's just go with this bowl of cereal. So what I would do is don't give them a lot of food, like it's a 2-year-old. So yeah, same one, 24 months old. Anyway, so I wouldn't give them very much food so that when they do throw it, it's not a big mess. So I would say no. As soon as they throw that food, I'd say no. And then I'd put it in the garbage or in the sink or whatever. Then I'd get a new bowl and I would hand feed them. There's no way I would give them a bowl and a spoon back after that. No way. And I'd hand feed them. They would scream and have a fit because they want to do it themselves, right? That's okay. Oh, you're all done? Okay, clean them up and put them down. I'm hungry, whatever, screaming away. That's okay. Let them scream. And then maybe 30 minutes later, you can say, okay, you're hungry? Let's try it again. And this time you give them a little bowl. If they throw it again, do the exact same thing. Usually by the 3rd time, they'll let you hand feed them. Or it might just be a battle. It's okay if they skip a meal. It's okay. They'll survive. I'm not a doctor. I think it's safe, but you might want to check with your medical practitioner to make sure they can miss one meal. But if all they're going to be doing is throwing food and not allowing you to hand feed them, I wouldn't mind letting them miss a meal. I might give them a snack later on, though. The thing is that I know you're talking about throwing other things too. When they throw something, I just pick it up and put it away so they can't touch it again. But the thing is, the mealtime is a good one to start with. It's starting to teach them that you know what you're doing, and they just, yeah, they'll learn. 3.5-year-old hits when gets upset. Use the behavior board and put down no hitting. That's the example I use, is a consequence every time they hit. By the age of 3, they can stop and think and reason. Yeah, you hit, so here's the consequence. Under that, they don't get that. It's got to be right in the moment, consistent corrective action with a toddler. But 3-year-old, yeah, just say, oh, you hit. Let's go over to the behavior board. Remember, the rule is no hitting, and you hit, so here's the consequence. And then just follow through. Okay. Oh, Kylie Pitt. Oh gosh, your husband's going to hate me. I have to answer this one. This is on YouTube. My husband gives up when having a behavior talk with our 6-year-old. Why are you having a behavior talk? That is the mini therapy session stuff I hate. I can't stand it. There's no point. How about if a policeman came over and started to have a discussion with you about speeding? No, he just gives you a ticket and off you go, right? Just have a consequence. Yeah, the mini therapy session, no, don't do it. She ignores, argues back. Yeah, absolutely. He gives up. Good. Yeah, it's the mini therapy session stuff. It doesn't work. Absolutely doesn't work. Plus, I always say you deal with bad behavior by imposing a consequence, then you focus on the good kid. Every parent wants to sit around and talk about bad behavior. I've never done that. I don't do that. Ever. I don't sit around and talk about bad behavior. It's just absolutely in the lecturing, nagging, annoying, holier than thou, pretentious. It's just a disaster. I don't do it. Yeah. Check out the pool story. It's the very first video I've pinned here. And it's called Example of Leadership Parenting. It's the pool story. I don't let anything go. I deal with bad behavior. Then all my focus, all my energy goes on the good kid. The good kid. So look at that one and show that to your husband. Don't discuss bad behavior. There's no point. Where you put your focus, where you put your energy is what grows. Okay. Got 8, 6, 4-year-old, keep waking up and too loud in the morning. Put down, have some rules. Say, this is our wake up morning routine. You can't make noise until 7 a.m. Then there's a consequence if they do, but have other things for them to do. You don't just tell kids what not to do if they're used to doing that, and it's fun. They get up and they're loud. So have something else for them to do. You train them into something else. Here's the alternative. So in the morning, what I want you to do from now on is, here you go. You do this. I don't know what it is. You decide. Something quieter, obviously. Chances are they won't want to wake up and read. But anyway, just look into something else that, and just explain this is what you can do instead. Okay. And if they break the rule, then you just have a consequence. Put it on the behavior board and have a consequence if they break the rule. Runners, how do you feel about the leash? I love it. Yeah. Better than getting flattened by a bus, isn't it? I mean, you basically restrain them in the car for safety. Why not restrain them when you're out walking around? Yeah, put a harness on them before you go out. And then you say, if you run, you're going to get clipped into this leash. As soon as they start to take off or don't listen to you, clip, and keep them clipped in for the rest of that outing. You got to make it like a lesson, right? So you don't just clip them, unclip, clip, unclip, clip. No, I wouldn't do that. I keep them clipped in. Is it going to be a nightmare of an outing? Yes, that's why you might want to do some trial runs. Go do outings that don't mean anything. You're just going to walk to the park or walk down the road and practice it there where you don't care if you go anywhere or not, because it's going to be an ugly scene probably. Two-year-old doesn't listen when being told no. No, they don't listen to that. It has to be consistent corrective actions. Words are useless with a toddler. These mini therapy sessions discussing things with toddlers or with older kids even. Yeah, doesn't work. Just say, here's a rule, don't break it. This is older kids. And then if you do, there's a consequence. Toddlers under the age of 3, they're consistent corrective actions. So if they hit, I think I got a mosquito in here, just like, if they hit or something, you say no, and then you push them away or take a toy away. So you remove them from the fun or remove fun from them. But you got to be consistent. You pick a battle and be consistent with it. And they don't learn the first time. They might learn the 50th time. It's repetition with toddlers. They don't learn through reasoning it through. They learn through like a knee-jerk reaction. Like they might touch a hot stove 10 times, but probably not the 11th. You see, they haven't reasoned it out in the first 1 or 2 times, but something in them just goes, ooh, I won't touch that. But they don't really think it through. So that's what you're going with. You're going with that style of learning. How often would you change the behaviors on the board? Okay, the behavior board is meant to be used like this. You have 1 per week for 3 weeks. So the first week you have 1 rule per person. Then the second week you have a new rule per person. The only rule that has to change is the kids. The consequences and the parents' rules can all stay the same. What always amazes me is kids never say, why are the parents' rules not changing? Although as they get older, they might have a new rule that they want for the parents. And that's great. Have them, put that down there. Like they might say, hey, no yelling is great, but I also don't want you on your phone during dinner time. So, let the kids, as they get older, let them have a say in that. But anyway, by week 3, you'll have 3 behavior boards up. And and everything else that's not on the behavior board, you just kind of suffer through. It's a teaching tool for you to learn how to be a leader, to learn how to set down rules and consequences. So then you'll have 3, and you don't go past 3. You only go up to 3. And then after that, you go into in the moment discipline. It's a whole other level. But that's in the course. It goes into that. The behavior board is just meant to be. And some people just use that forever. They just keep putting different things on there, but they only have 3 of them. But then they'll sort of master one rule, then they'll change it and put another one on. You can do it that way. But if you want to know how to go further and different things, like I would never use a behavior board. It's a teaching tool. There's no way I'd want a kid looking at a behavior board. I want them looking at me. So it sort of takes the pressure off you in a way. And when people hire me for coaching, I always say, Say, this is the rule and the consequence. If they argue, say, well, we paid a lot of money to that woman. She teaches parenting, and that's happening. So we take a lot of the pressure off the parents initially while they're learning. Okay, so yeah, it's all for you, how to lead, how to have a rule and a consequence and follow through. If you're doing this on your own, make it easy. Make it something you can follow through on. Don't put the hardest thing on there. Start small. And the whole idea is that the kids will start to respect you and all the other bad behaviors start to drop away. But it's hard work. You got to earn this. I worked my butt off to get respect with kids. I've worked with hundreds of kids, and I earned it. I worked for it. Okay. Hello from Australia. Hi. That's where I raised my kids. Do both parents need to be on board with your style? Will it work for me if my husband is a lot softer? You want to both be doing it ideally, but you should both be on the board. But there usually is a leader and a pleaser, certainly initially. Then what happens is everyone thinks that the leader is the tough one. You are the one who disciplines, but that's the prized role. You're also the one who gets more connected with the kids. You're the one they tell everything to. When something happens, you're the first one they want to run to because you're the leader. They look up to you. You're the one they admire, right? Think about it. You're like a mentor to them. You're fun too. So the leader is the prized role. So often the softer parent who doesn't want to discipline ends up saying, wait, I want some of that too. So that's how it goes. And then if they really are struggling with this, you have the pleaser parent defer to the leader. So if they don't know what to do, then you say, hey, let's go ask mom. You defer to the leader. And it's still, you want to be a united front, basically. But I deal with a lot of parents where often the dads does not want to be on that behavior board for various reasons. One of them is I get parents all over the world, and it's their culture that the man is the head of the house and he's not accountable. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a different culture. So I have to respect that and work around that. The funny thing is, very rarely will I not get them on there. And it's done a certain way. Like their rule is no phone at the dinner table. Their consequence is they have to play hide and seek with the kids for 10 minutes. Like what dad wouldn't want to do that, But initially they don't know who I am, and they just don't get it. They think it's all about them having to be punished. It's just about teaching accountability and having fun with it. Okay. Not initially, but down the road, accountability is fun. I'll give you a good example of this. If my kids messed up, there's no shame in making mistakes, right? So if my kids messed up, they would own it and they say, hey, how about no TV tonight, mom? And I'd say, that's too much. Just give me a makeover or do my hair or something. So that's how it goes. When you get good at this, that's how it goes. It's that easy. How long would you let a tantrum go on for? You're right there. Remember, you're not abandoning them. You're just there filing your nails, waiting. The longest I ever heard, and it was brutal. I won't go into detail. It was an older kid. I think he was 5.5. I think he was in grade 1 or kindergarten, I think. Anyway, and it went on for, I think it was 4 hours. He was throwing up. It was ugly, but it never happened again. So the bigger the scene, the bigger the lesson. He'd had little tantrums, but he never had a massive one. He just thought, wait a minute, you've always given it in the past. I'm just going to keep upping it and upping it. It was a battle. It was a who can give in first. That's all that was. And I warned the parents. I said, it's going to be ugly. And because I knew this kid was next level in control. And anyway, yeah. You got to be willing to go through this stuff. Behind every fit, scene, tantrum, and meltdown is a lesson. I always see those as an opportunity for me to exercise my leadership. I'm not afraid of it. Quite the opposite. It's like that kid who was 8 and I just met him. I was going to be working with him. And then he said to me, very first time I knew him, he said to me, he's 8 years old, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And I said, bring it on. And he never did. He thought, ooh, she knows what she's doing. I have no fear of that. That's my opportunity. That's my opportunity. I see that as a good thing. The bigger the scene, the bigger the lesson. If you know how to handle it, right? And that's what I teach. I teach leadership. You stay calm during the storms and you can be crazy during the rainbows. The storms are the discipline, the tantrums, all that stuff. It's like a business transaction. Zero emotions from you. Zero. It's like a business transaction. Talk slow, low, just calm. But when you're playing with kids, I used to chase kids around the house with underpants on my head. Then you can be crazy. During the happy times, be crazy. Fun, play is their love language. So have fun with your kids. That's more important than the discipline. Connecting is really what I teach here. It's not about discipline. Discipline is just, yeah, get it done, get it out of the way. But it's more about connecting with your kids, having fun with them. Remember, fun is their love language. Praise is not. Parents tend to overpraise and underplay. Oh, you're wonderful. You're so smart. You're such a good boy. Okay, I'm going to go do the dishes now. And that kid's like this. Does nothing for him. But you say to that same little kid, hey, what are you doing? Can I play too? Watch the difference. Parents tend to overpraise and underplay. Think about it. Do you do that? I don't know. You might not. You might play a lot. I don't know. But play is, I always said my superpower with kids was fun. I was either fun or funny. Fun with little kids, funny with teenagers. I used humor. I connected that way. That's how I connected. Like if I was working with a really difficult teenager, I would say, well, look, I got to find something to like about you. And right now you're quite repugnant. And they'd usually laugh, right? I chose it carefully. I knew who I could say that with and who I couldn't. Or else they'd say, oh, where's that likable quality? I can't find it. I need a magnifying glass. Just stupid stuff, you know. So yeah, humor. It's very important with teenagers. Although I worked with teenagers that didn't have any sense of humor either. So I had to use other things. I had to figure out what they liked. And we talked about that. Also, oh, that's a whole other thing. Teenagers are my favorite age. I don't think I have a lot of parents on here with teenagers, so I won't go on about it. But they're my favorite age. Just because it's all more like if I'm coaching someone who has 4 or 12-year-olds or something like that, it's just easy for me. But if I get like a violent 17-year-old as, you know, the parents as clients, then I have to really think about it. And that's why they're my favorite. I have to really think. Sometimes hurts my brain. That's why I like to mix up my coaching sessions, but I'm not great at it. Sometimes I'll get a day where it's just nothing but parents of teenagers, and my brain is like, it's hurting by the end of that day. This is, okay. Suddenly my 2-year-old wants nothing to do with me, just wants dad. That's really common. They go through favorite stages, and they often do it just to get the reaction from you, that looking hurt and everything. Yeah, it's just a stage. You're going to be the favorite one day, then the other one's going to be the favorite. Don't worry about it. But yeah, I remember my husband at the time was giving the kids a bath, or one of our kids a bath, and they were just kind of having a bad day or something. I don't remember. And they said, I want mom. And then I always told my husband to just say, well, you're stuck with me, so get over it. Don't give into that stuff. So I heard him say that. Well, I'm doing it, so too bad. So anyway, and then they said it again, and I said, your father said you're stuck with him. So then they stopped. But yeah, they just go through stages. I wouldn't give into that at all. Unless they're sick or something, that's different. But yeah, not just as a preference. How long should I remove a toy as a consistent corrective action? Yeah, if they're really little, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, once they've stopped crying, basically. And if they remember it, I wouldn't even pull it down if they don't remember it. But yeah, wait till they stop crying. I wouldn't give it to them while they're crying, because then you're rewarding the crying, right? Wait till they calm down. But, you know, they're very young, too, at that age. So I might redirect and go and do something else. Okay. Okay, this is from Christina on YouTube. They're in week 4 of the boot camp. Which one? It would be, pardon me, it would be the 3 to 12-year-old. Stupid me. Anyway, so Christina says, we're in week 4 of the boot camp. I don't know what that means. We'll be on vacation, planning to wait until we return to start week 4. I know you said it's okay to extend by 1 week. Should we extend until we return? Okay. Yeah, with some stuff, it depends. Some stuff travels. In a hotel room, you can do this. So what you do is you defer the fun. So if you say, okay, here's our rule when we're traveling. We want you to put your wet swimsuit in the tub or whatever. Have a rule, okay? Or we don't want you hitting. If they hit, then you defer the fun. What I mean by that, let's say you're going to go down to the pool. So you're away somewhere. You're going to go down to the lake or something. And you say, we were going to leave at 9, but because you hit, the consequence is we're not going to leave until 9:15 now. And if they keep yelling, say, we'll make it 9:30 if you keep going. So you defer the fun at the front of the fun. You do not pull them out early. You'll have one hell of a night. So you defer the start of the fun when you're away. That's the best way you can do it when you're on holidays. So yeah, you can still do it, but it's not as effective perhaps, or sometimes it's more effective. Depends on what they're doing, right? It's like I had a client today and they said we were taking away, when the kid was naughty, they were taking away reading to them in bed. And I says, no, you never take away love. That's sort of in the love department, but you can shorten it. And this child was little. So I said, they won't know the difference between 10 minutes and 15 minutes. Say, we were going to read to you for 15 minutes, but because you broke that rule today or you were naughty, then we're only going to read for 10 minutes. So you show them the timer. It has the colored timer stuff and everything. So, or you can say, we were going to read 3 books tonight, but we're only going to read 2. So you just lessen the time that you're going to read to them, but you never just take away the love, like reading to them in bed at night, right? And always you talk like that. You don't say, because you were naughty, I never would talk like that. You say, yeah, okay, remember you broke the rule. So because of that, tonight we're just going to read 2 books instead of 3. Okay, so let's go. It's like that. There's no big deal. The bigger the deal you make out of the discipline, the bigger it becomes. They're more likely to do it again because you're making them feel bad. We don't want shaming. We don't want to shame children. We don't want them to feel bad about themselves when they get a consequence at all. If you shame them, they're more likely to do it again. It becomes their identity. That bad behavior becomes who they are. You don't want that. You say that, yeah, that was stupid what you just did. Oh, well, we all do dumb things sometimes. Here's your consequence. Okay, you ready to go to the park? You see, it's like that. It's like, it's okay to not be perfect. It's that you want them to learn how to be accountable for making mistakes. We're not trying to stop all the mistakes. That's ridiculous. No one's perfect. But we want them to be accountable and not be ashamed of making mistakes. Just like you do. You make mistakes, right? Nothing wrong with that. We all make mistakes. Okay, I'm going to be moving over to TikTok. Check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses. I have 2 of them. The toddler one includes all the mini courses, by the way, as a bonus. And then you have the 3 to 12-year-old boot camp, or you can look into coaching. So that's all above. And I'm on YouTube the whole time. That's where all of my lives are saved on YouTube. What else did I want to say? No, that's it. Okay, I'm going to move over to TikTok now because I have so many buttons to push, and my voice needs a bit of a break. So anyway, so I'm going to push the buttons now. So thanks so much for joining me. Happy parenting. Bye now. Oh, God, TikTok. TikTok keeps adding more and more buttons to push. Okay. Well, only one more. I'm a bit dramatic. So I just have to let my voice take a little break here. Okay. Welcome to the TikTok live. I just finished with Instagram and I did Facebook before that, but I'm on YouTube the whole time. That's where all of my lives are saved. Okay. Whoops. I must lose 200 hairs a day. Surprised I got any hair left on my head. Do you know when you get older, I'm in my 60s now, and when you get older, you lose a lot of hair. And when you've got as much hair as I had, it's wonderful to have normal hair now. My ponytail was like huge. Now I can get normal elastics around my hair. So yeah, it's a lot of good stuff about getting older. I'm enjoying it. Okay, just waiting for people to turn up. Facebook and TikTok, people are slower to come in, but TikTok gets as busy as Instagram, just has a slower start. Okay, so I'm just waiting for everyone to turn. While we're waiting, I'd love to know where you're from, by the way. And I got 10 people on YouTube. YouTube's my smallest platform. Yeah, it goes YouTube. I think I've got about 10,000 on here now, though. That's going really well. And then I've got Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I've got almost, I think, about 800,000 here now, or is it 700,000 on TikTok? Canada, BC. I'm from Canada, BC. I'm in Vancouver. If you know anything about Vancouver, you know where Science World is, the False Creek Olympic Village. That's where I live. Toronto. Hi, Toronto. Queensland, Australia. My kids were raised in Brisbane. Love, love, love it. I only left Australia because my mom got ill. She was in her 80s, and I'm the only daughter. It's just different with daughters. She's got a son also, but it's just different. She needed her daughter. That's why we moved back. I never would have left Australia if it wasn't for my mom. Okay. Not that there's anything wrong with Canada, but I was very ensconced in Australia. So I've been there for about 20 years. Okay, New York City. That's where I spent my 50th birthday. Texas. My daughter and I would love to go to Texas. We'll probably incorporate some business trip down there, hopefully next year. So I'm dying to go to Austin. I'm very curious. I keep hearing about Austin, Texas. Dying to go down there. London. I was there in 1980. Okay, Wisconsin, Boston. Everyone, people from everywhere. I've got clients all over the world. And which accent was it I had a horrible time with? Was it Scottish, I think? And they said they've got a particular village that they're from or something. And holy moly, I had a terrible time understanding them. Oh, I love the sound of it, though. Louisiana, New Zealand. We used to ski in Queenstown from Australia. Northwest Arkansas. Hello. I had a couple of clients this year from Arkansas. Washington State. We're neighbors. Yeah, I'm here in Vancouver. Okay, so let's get going with the live. Welcome, TikTok. And I forget. It's my third one. By the time you see me, I've already done Instagram and Facebook. So anyway, welcome to my live. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses. The toddler one includes all of the mini courses, so you might want to check into that. Or you can look into coaching. Anyway, let's get going with your parenting questions. Northwestern Australia. NWA. Is that right? Did I say that? Why did I just come out with that? Is that right? I'm in NWA. What is that? Is that Northwest? Why would I say Northwestern Australia? That's not even a place, is it? I don't know why I said that. Sometimes I just come out with stuff. Anyway, I'm curious now. Where is NWA? Oh, the music. That's why it's so familiar. Oh, thank God I didn't say that. That was my favorite album for years. For years. Only the greatest hits one. I didn't like the other ones. They were too foul for me. But I had a teenage son. He was into all that kind of music. So I ended up loving it. Isn't that funny? It was so, I just knew those initials, but I didn't know what they meant. Northwest Australia. Oh, my God. Thank God I never said the other. That's funny. Don't look it up, anybody. It's filthy. But it was my favorite album for years. I still listen to it at the gym sometimes. I also listen to Slipknot and Michael Bublé, so go figure that one out. Okay, enough of me. Okay. My child has been angry, screaming when something doesn't go his way. How can I correct that? Well, let him scream. That's his process. Allow him to process not getting his own way. Allow him to learn to not get his own way. Allow him to learn the word no. That's his process. Don't try and make it easy on him. There's no lesson in easy. Right? Everyone wants, how do we avoid the scenes, the fits, the tantrums, the meltdowns? Those are the lessons. You don't want to avoid those. South Africa, hello. I worked with a guy from South Africa years and years and years ago. He had a very heavy accent. Very nice. It was a long time ago. That was in the 70s. That's how old I am. Back when the dinosaurs. Oh, my son said he was about 4. And he says, Mommy, he says, what was it like when you were a little kid with all the dinosaurs around? I said, thanks, sweetie. So it was great. We used to put saddles on them and ride them around. Really? Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay, is it bad to sleep with your children? Do we have a strict bedtime? That's the co-sleeping thing. There's a few things that I have no opinion on. If you like it, do it. I don't have an opinion on it. It's like I don't have an opinion on your religion or whether or not you breastfeed till they're 5 or homeschooling. There's certain things that are just personal choices. Okay. Yeah. So I don't have an opinion on that. But a lot of my clients hire me to stop sleeping with their kids, like the bedtime. That's the bedtime battles course. Or else when they hire me, they want to stop that. They say it was fine for a while there, and then they kind of get over it. Most people kind of get over it, but some people have what do they call it, the family bed? This giant, I've seen that. I saw something once where there was this giant bed and the whole family slept there. But that's your preference. Like I wouldn't want to do it. Also with homeschooling, I know I wouldn't want to do it. It's not for me. But I think it's great if you enjoy doing that. The only thing with homeschooling, I usually warn parents, is make sure they're socialized with kids who are not homeschooled. Because once they go to high school, they're usually mainstreamed at that point. And I've talked to teenagers who said, we can spot a homeschool kid a mile away. So they're often picked on because they just don't have the same social skills. You know, they weren't out like sort of assimilated into the world. They were protected in homeschool. So just make sure that they socialize with non-homeschool kids too. It's a great community. I know homeschoolers have a great community, so I know I wouldn't want to do it, but. Okay, my son gets bit at daycare. Is there anything we can do to help? We don't want him to bite or hit. Yeah, no, there's nothing you can do. That's up to the daycare workers because they're really little at daycare, and it's in the moment. There's nothing you can do later. No, nothing. You got to talk to the daycare workers and say, what can we do? Is there anything we can do? But generally, no. Maybe where they might say something like maybe long sleeves or, I don't know. It's a tough one. That's up to the daycare people to deal with. Help with my teen, please. Teens are coaching one-on-one with me if you're interested. That's my specialty is teenagers. But yeah, that would be coaching. I don't have a course on teens yet. How do you stop biting at home? I do have a course on that, but basically consistent corrective actions. With toddlers under the age of 3, you don't put a rule and a consequence because they can't go on the behavior board yet. They're not old enough to understand that. So under the age of 3, you use consistent corrective actions, but you got to be fast. You got to be right there in the moment. And you say no, and you take them away from the fun or the fun away from them every single time. But you only let them bite once. If you know they're going to keep coming at you, don't let them keep getting their teeth into you or someone else. You stop it. You stop the subsequent bites. It's hard work, though. You got to be on top of that. To make a real difference, you have to be on top of it. You have to put a whole question in there. If you continue it, too many other questions come in between. I can't see it. Because this is TikTok and Instagram are my busiest platforms. So I get too many questions to keep it all straight. How to differentiate autistic behavior versus behavioral issues in toddlers. I'm not qualified to answer anything about that. That's actually assessing whether or not they have autism or not. I'm not a doctor. And you know what? You can actually, well, never mind. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not a doctor. I've worked with a lot of autistic kids. But yeah, there's certain things. I stay in my lane. I teach parent-child relationships. And that's it. I do not know how to diagnose anything. Okay. I like this question. I get asked it quite often. I don't have a great answer for it, but I have an opinion on it. This is from Babes of La La Land. Okay. Sorry, probably got that wrong. How do you teach a 3-year-old kindness, being extra mean to grandpa, previously extra mean to grandma? Okay. You don't teach kindness by teaching kindness. you teach kindness by stopping the meanness. So you say, look, I didn't like the way you just, now this is a 3-year-old, by the way. You said, I didn't like the way you treated grandpa or grandma. So there'll be a consequence if you do that again. Okay. So just correct the bad behavior with that. You can't really teach a child to be kind. There's a lot of different, and I'd have to assess that more. When did this start? How often are they mean? And when does it happen? What are the grandparents doing? Are they trying to smother them? Are they all over them? There might be a lot of extenuating circumstances to that one. So I can't give a great answer, but basically you're not teaching kindness so much as you're stopping the bad behavior in that particular situation. Yeah, sometimes we're not just stopping bad behavior, we're teaching how to do something right, but I think they already know with that one. So yeah, I have a lot of questions about that before I could really give a more intense answer or a more comprehensive answer. Sorry about that. It's quite interesting too when I'm coaching. Coaching is my favorite thing to do in my business. I always say I don't know how much longer I'm going to do it because I don't really need to coach anymore, but I just love it. Absolutely love it. And it's fascinating. Sometimes I can't quite figure out what's going on because I get this real obsession with trying to figure out what's going on and what for me to focus on. And it's often not what the parents expect me to. But then every so often, I'm not a therapist, and the therapists focus on the past. I'm a coach. We focus on the future, right? So, but every so often I'll just go like this. I'll go, how are you parented? And there's something about that. They'll often go, oh, and there's something holding parents back sometimes. And it's something from their own childhood. You know, if you feel that you are less of a parent because you were parented poorly, you're not your parents. You are not them. This comes up quite often in coaching, whereas parents feel there's nothing they can do because they were abused or whatever. I mean, you know, some of them have been through some horrendous stuff. And I always say, look, your parents did the best they knew how. Okay. No one is handed a baby in the hospital and says, I'm going to mess you up. They did the best they knew how, and you are not your parents. Okay. So you can start from scratch. But yeah, that comes up more often than I would think it does. But I can just tell sometimes where there's a block and they're just really struggling with something. And then, yeah, they always seem surprised when I ask them that. And yeah, I was abused. That's why, you know, but yeah, you're not your parents. You don't have to repeat the same stuff. Some of it's great, but some of it's not. 3-year-old son won't listen the first time without me yelling. Well, you yell because it's all that works, and it works in the moment, but it does backfire down the road. I never repeat myself, and I never yell. I just say, look, we have to do that. If they don't do it, then I take action or there's a consequence. So I only say something once and I never yell. If they choose not to listen, then there's a consequence or an action. Okay. Yeah. They learn eventually. I've got this sign up here. It says subscription leaderboard. I haven't got a clue what's going on TikTok. We don't get any money here in Canada from TikTok. But like I know in other countries, they make a lot of money. You know, I've got a sizable following here, but yeah, we don't make any money on TikTok here. But I keep getting all these little stars and that. I don't know what any of it means. I haven't got a clue. And I wasn't hit, just yelled at and grounded a lot. Yeah, yelling is, I don't go on about it too much. One of my biggest videos ever was 2.5 years ago on TikTok, and I would never make it again. It was something like, oh, I don't even want to say it, but it was about yelling. And it was basically saying why you should never yell and what it actually does. So yeah, I was never yelled at. The first time anyone ever yelled at me, I was 26 years old. And it was a friend of a friend. She had bipolar. She was not doing well, I guess. And she just yelled at me. It's the first time I'd ever been yelled at in my whole life. And it threw me for a loop. I got up, walked out, and left her there. I had the car, by the way. Yeah, she was very apologetic later on, but I never saw her again. Yeah, I don't take kindly to that. So if you've never been yelled at, your tolerance level to abusive behavior is very low. But yeah, most parents yell, by the way. You yell because you don't know what else to do. I teach you what else to do, but almost all my clients yell. So you're not alone. But yeah, you don't want to do it. You want to move away from yelling. How do I keep my 3-year-old in his bed? Check out my Bedtime Battles course. It's in 2 parts, how to get them in bed and then how to keep them there. Getting them in bed is easy. Keeping them there is the hard part. Just a warning, it's one night of sheer hell. It might bleed into night number 2 and 3, but it's usually just one night of sheer hell. The worse that first night is, the less likely they are to ever get up again. Oh, yuck. My sister passed away, leaving 3 children behind. Her oldest is 13, second 11, and youngest 3. It's very scary. I lost my dad when I was 14. Scared the hell out of me. Yeah, it was the most traumatic thing I've ever been through my whole life. I've had a miscarriage. I've had heart surgery. I've had, close call with someone, lost my mother. Nothing compared to being a kid and losing a parent. It was horrifying. You can't protect them, but you know what helped me is having other kids who were going through stuff, because it just seems like everyone else is like, by that time, not many kids had gone through something horrible. I was 14 when it happened, but it was a long, drawn out cancer. And I was 14 and none of my friends went through anything. They were still complaining about their parents, and here I was, lost my dad. Or was losing him and they didn't know it. But yeah, having other kids who've been through trauma, death, something horrible was the only thing that helped. Misery loves company, right? I thought, I'm not alone. Other people know what this agony is like. And it was sheer hell. It was agony. And you can't protect them, but find other kids that they can relate to. And that nowadays with the internet, oh my God, there's so many places they can go, for support groups. That's my best advice, is other kids going through the same thing. You got a 2-year-old who hits. What can you do? Check out my Toddlers Who Hit course. Basically, it's about consistent corrective action. Every time they hit, you say no and you push them away, and then stop consequence hits. You just say no and look away. You don't talk to them about it. Words are weak. Actions are strong. Why does my teen suddenly hate me? I don't know. I'd have to look into that. I don't know. There's no backup. I need to assess that. Teenage stuff right now is just coaching, unless it's something just super easy. But I don't know. I don't know what kind of parent you are. I don't know what your history is. I don't know what they're going through. I don't know how old they are. Blah, 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 blah. Too many questions. Yeah, I'd have to assess the situation. You can look into coaching if you're interested. I do specialize in teenagers. I would say most of my clients don't have teenagers. Yeah, they're younger. Mostly in the range 3 to 12 is most of my clients. Okay. I love your stuff and your consistency in these lives. I was doing them every single day on TikTok for about a year or 2 years. And now I'm just really busy these days. So I still try and do it 5, maybe 6 days a week. I don't think I've done a live since maybe Friday. So I went quite a while this time, but we've got other stuff going on. So my daughter's now working with me full time. So she wanted to set up a bunch of stuff. She kind of runs stuff behind the scenes. So yeah, that's why I cut back on the lives a little bit. I love doing these lives. My favorite thing about my business by far is coaching. And I hate setting up the scheduling, all that. I hate doing all that. Even when I know I've got a coaching session coming up, I'm like, oh God, I have coach. And then second I see them on the screen, I'm in my zone. I love coaching. And that's my favorite thing. This is my second favorite because I'm talking at you. You're not talking back though. That's why coaching is better, because it's back and forth more, right? So yeah, I love it. And there's this saying that follow your passion in your business. I was volunteering with kids for decades before I started my business, and which struck me as funny. I didn't know I'd ever turn that into a business. It was the troubled teens I worked with who said, you got to teach this, Lisa. So, and then years later I did. I started my business 17 years ago. But yeah, it was quite interesting. Here I was volunteering with kids for decades, and I was always drawn to the behaviorally challenged kids. And yeah, I just thought, oh, I know how to do this. And it was my calling, basically. And then turning into a business. I'd never in a million years dreamt you could teach this stuff. Never dawned on me. Isn't that funny, eh? All those decades of all that volunteer work paid off. Well, not that I wanted it to. I did it because I loved it, right? Were you able to stay home with your children? Yeah, I stayed home as a stay-at-home mom for 17 years. My husband worked at the time, and then after we split up, I started my business soon after that. And then I was a stay-at-home mom through the teen years, it's more important to be home during the teen years. They don't want you much, but when they want you, you want to be there. So I would say if you're going to go to work, do it when they're younger and be home during the teen years. I was always there. So glad I found you. Is it true that your personality is shaped for life by the time they're 6? I always said it was 7. And then they used to say it was 5. And then they said it was 7. Now I just heard something, and I'm sure you can find any studies or whatever to confirm anything you believe, basically. But this well-renowned child psychologist scientist guy, he did this study, and he believes now he's saying it is 7. And they learn through observation, which I've always said that. They're not listening, they're watching. They are not listening. They're listening, but that's not what impacts them. It's watching. So I firmly believe in that. And I've always argued that they're watching you. So you form by the time you're 7. Now, that's your basic personality that's formed by the time you're 7. You can tweak it and change it, and you can still work on your social skills, your behavior, all that stuff can be changed. But your basic, what makes you innately who you are, what excites you in life, what doesn't, is 7, evidently. So it's quite interesting. But you can still tweak and change a few things. I only had one client in 17 years that threw me for a loop. It was something I'd never heard of. It was really interesting. And it was interesting trying to work through this personality trait. It was something I'd never heard of. And I was the last ditch attempt to try and fix this. But it was fascinating. I find people fascinating. If you can understand children, you can understand yourself a lot easier, because we were all kids at one time. I find kids, I can literally remember because I've been doing this since I was 11. I was volunteering in daycare centers. I can literally remember what I was thinking when I was 2, not that well, but 3, 4. I can remember each age. Like how my brain was working. I can literally relate to all those ages. It's quite interesting because I've studied it for so long. And we're all kind of the same. We all want to feel good about ourselves. We don't want to be corrected for being wrong and bad all the time. What we want is someone to make us feel good about ourselves. When someone does that for you, you do good. Okay, I wrote this down a while ago. If your kids feel good around you, they're good around you. If your kids feel bad around you, bad about themselves around you, they're bad around you. Okay. So I knew that early on. I knew the key was to make kids feel good about themselves. What are they going to be like with me? If I make them feel good about themselves, how do they treat me? Beautifully, right? I'm still like that, isn't it? We're all like that. If someone makes you like yourself, they make you feel good about yourself. Would you ever be rude to that person? Don't you just follow them around like a puppy dog? Right? That's what this is all about. It's about leadership. It's about love. Anyway, it's not about discipline. It's about connecting. Sometimes I write stuff down. I think it's so profound. Then I look at it later and I go, what? I wrote this down. I don't even know what this means. Meet their needs, manage their wants, right? Put a lot of effort into their needs, which encompasses fun and play and happiness. Okay, I kind of get that. It just wasn't written very well. But you meet their needs and manage their wants. Their wants are not fun. It is too. Their wants are fun, but their needs are fun. Kids need to have fun. That's their love language. A lot of parents miss that boat. They don't get it. Your child's love language is fun. Now, it's best if you have fun with them in their world. So if they're on the ground playing Lego, get on the ground and play Lego with them. Don't just take them to Disneyland and stand there taking pictures of them on Dumbo. You get on that ride with them. You have fun with them in their world. You connect with children in their world, not your world, in their world. It's just a whole different level of connection. So I've got all these notes here. I got to organize it and word them better. That one was not worded very well at all. This just struck me as cute. I wrote this down. I had a client who has a 4.5-year-old, and they use timers. So he's got to finish something within 10 minutes or whatever. So he was smart. The mother went in the other room. He had fudged the timer. He moved it, but he was smart because he didn't move it by a lot. He just moved it by a little. And she went in there and noticed it right away. And I can't remember how he dealt with it, but we were just cracking up. He was smart enough to know, don't put it all the way to 10 minutes again, but he only moved it by a couple of minutes. I thought that was really funny. Imagine him standing there thinking that through. That's what I think kids are so funny. I can just imagine them going, well, if I put it back to 10, she's going to know. But if I just do 2 extra minutes, she won't know. Kids are great. I'm going to tell you a story that I usually only talk about in coaching. I tell a lot of stories in coaching. And this one's a good one. And I'm going to tell you why. Because it seems like a time when you should be disciplining, but it's the exact opposite. This happens a lot with teenagers. On the behavior board, we put something like this. Because with teenagers, the first week or 2 of coaching is just connecting with them. So we never deal with the big stuff in the first couple of weeks. You got to work on your relationship and your connection and bonding with them, okay? So anyway, this happens a lot. Let's say you got a 15-year-old boy. You put down as his rule, put dirty clothes in hamper and nowhere else. So in other words, they can't lay on the floor all day, then late at night they can put them in the hamper. They come off their body straight into the hamper. And I always warn parents, just to be warned, you've got a teenage boy, he might carry those clothes around with him all day, the dirty, filthy, stinky clothes, because he isn't putting them anywhere. So this is a workaround. This is a way of giving you the finger, really. He says, I haven't put them down. He's carrying them around all day. Some of them will take them in the car and at dinner table. They'll be having this stinky, disgusting clothes, and they'll be looking at the parents eating like this, like, I'll get you, you know. So and then the parents say, well, how do we discipline that? And I say, no. You don't say anything all day long. Don't feed it. Let it go. At the very most, I might put a clothes peg on my nose, but I wouldn't say anything. I would just subtly put a clothes peg, and then I would keep talking and, just kind of go with it. And they'd be probably confused, right? That's fine. Anyway, so then at dinner time, if they're still holding those filthy clothes that they haven't put anywhere, they're not in the hamper, but they haven't put them anywhere else, they haven't broken the rule, this is what I would do. They're sitting there and they're eating with these filthy clothes in their hand, I would sit back and I would look at them and I'd go, you've been carrying those around all day with you. I would go, well done. Like, I respect that. I think that's funny. Okay. Have they broken the rule? No. Have they gotcha? Yeah. Own it. Laugh at it. The funny thing is, parents are kind of awkward with that. They don't quite get that. But you watch the reaction of that teenager. Like, they just get this stuff. It's funny. Like, you turned something that could have been ugly into something fun. Okay? So anyway, a lot of clients sort of don't get that at first, but whenever they do, they go, yeah, that was a good one. That worked. We ended up laughing. That's the whole point. Yeah. Okay. Did that make sense, though? Did I explain that properly? Anyway, I got to get going. I've been on here for 90 minutes now. My voice starts to get sore. I'm getting better at lowering my voice and saving it because I tend to yell when I'm doing these, and I'm trying to save my voice. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I always appreciate it very much. So anyway, if you go to the link above, you can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses. I have 2 of them. The toddler one includes all the mini courses for the toddlers too, just as an added bonus. And then you can look into coaching. I do have a wait list for that, but over the summer, it's usually smaller. I had a crazy summer. Actually, it was pretty busy. But hopefully in September, I'll be taking on new clients. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. And I'll be back again on Thursday for my regularly scheduled lives. I might be in tomorrow. I usually try and do it every day, but I just haven't been able to get to it every day. But it depends on what I've got on tomorrow. So thanks so much for joining me. I always appreciate your time. And thank you. Have a good day. Bye now.